So in the last class, I told you there are three microprocessors. One is 8085, 8086, and 8051. These are to be covered in this class, in this course. Okay. So in 8085, if you see, it is almost obsolete, but still some industries they use 8085. But one advantage of reading or studying 8085 is that this instruction set architecture and its hardware structure is so simple. Once you understand 8085, you can easily read 8086 and any other microprocessor of any manufacturer. So that is why till today also 8085 is there in the course, but in the reality nobody nowadays uses 8085. Rather we start from 8086. If you take any mechanical industry like SAIL, Steel Authority of India Limited, or Rourkela Steel Plant, or if you take NALCO or any process control organizations, they extensively use 8086 microprocessor for their process control, right. So therefore 8086 will give more importance, and we will try to finish 8085 as quickly as possible. But this will serve as the basics of the microprocessor. And as I told you in the last class, so let us start from the same three components: CPU, another is memory, then another is IO devices, and the required buses. So bus means a set of wires, sometimes we call the system bus, and it carries three types of signals. One is address, another is data, then third one is control, right. And why these addresses are required? Since microprocessor or processor or computer are basically machines, each and every unit of the system must be assigned with an address. Even if you take memory, memory is divided into number of locations that we have studied in computer organization architecture, and each location must be given an address, and that address has to be in binary, right, because machine understands only machine language. Okay. So address is always, you can observe, address is always unidirectional. Why? This will be issued by the microprocessor or processor. So functionally processor and microprocessor both are same. The only difference is that CPU in a single chip is called a microprocessor. The central processing unit, if you fabricate everything into a single chip, single IC, then we call it a microprocessor. Otherwise functionally both are same. Okay. So now the CPU, which we call the main heart of a microcomputer system, microprocessor along with other devices is known as a microcomputer. I think that is the difference between microprocessor and microcomputer. So we understood that microprocessor is different from CPU in the as far as the IC concept is concerned or chip concept is concerned, right. Then what is a microcomputer? So microcomputer is the microprocessor plus all other devices. So what are the remaining devices? Remaining devices are memories and different type of IO devices. One example of input device is the keyboard. Another example of input device is a mouse, and another example of input device is a small sensor which will send some data from the environment. So likewise, if you see, there are large number of input devices, but in a computer, as I told you, computer is just an application of microprocessor. Therefore, the number of devices are limited. But in reality, we will have more than hundreds or 200s of devices which can be interfaced to the microprocessor, right. So similarly, if you see memories, there are different types of memories like RAM, ROM, magnetic memory, static RAM, dynamic RAM. I will give the exact classifications of memory in some other classes, but assume that a large number of different varieties of memories are also to be interfaced with the microprocessor. And last class also I told that every microcomputer's capability or microprocessor's capability can be characterized by its designation. What is the designation of a microprocessor? How many bits it can process at a time. The number of bits or binary digits it can process at a time is known as the designation of that microprocessor. For example, 8085 we call it is an 8-bit microprocessor, means its designation is 8-bit. At a time it will be able to process only 8 bits, not more than that. But if you want to process 16 bit, what you have to do? You have to process 2 times. If you want to process 32 bits, you have to process it 4 times. The meaning is that 4 times processing is necessary and 4 times memory access is also necessary, because at a time only you can retrieve 8-bit data from the memory, right. So, this is 8-bit microprocessor. In the same way, we can understand 8086 is a 16-bit microprocessor, or its designation is 16-bit, and 8051 still it is 8-bit, because it is a microcontroller, and we shall see what is the difference between microprocessor and microcontroller. Conceptually both are same, but microcontroller has some 1 or 2 additional features over the microprocessor, and those additional features we shall discuss later. Now, let us concentrate only on the microprocessor. Is okay? So, now if I say this is the CPU and memory IO devices and they are all available as a single system, we call it is a microcomputer, or we call it is a personal computer. Microcomputer and personal computers are both can be interchangeably used, right. So, now if this is the CPU or microprocessor and this is the memory, and these are the set of IO devices, and we connect the bus from microprocessor to memory and from microprocessor to IO devices for communication. What is communication? Communication is simply the exchange of messages or exchange of data between any 2 devices in a microcomputer. So, when our processor wants to communicate with memory, it has to need some medium. So, here bus serves as the medium by which you can communicate, and the 3 types of bus as I told you: address bus, data bus and a control bus. And this address bus is used to locate a specific location from the memory if the communication is taking place between microprocessor and memory. And this same address bus you can use for IO device also if a processor or microprocessor wants to identify a particular input device or output device. And from this it is clear that microprocessor always sends the signal in the address bus, and memory and IO devices all the time will receive the data or address or signals from the microprocessor. Therefore, address bus is always unidirectional from microprocessor to memory or microprocessor to IO devices. It is always unidirectional. Am I clear? Then second, the data bus. What is the data bus? The data can be transferred from microprocessor to memory or memory to microprocessor. Therefore, data bus must be bidirectional. And if it is connecting or communicating an input device, the data transfer from input device to microprocessor. And if the communication is taking place between microprocessor and output device, the data bus is or the signal transmission from microprocessor to output devices. But in general, we call IO devices. So, if it is input device, the data transfer from input to microprocessor. Even if you transfer the data from IO device to memory, remember the data has to be routed through microprocessor. Data initially will come to the microprocessor, then from microprocessor it will go to the memory. Am I clear? So, what does it mean? That microprocessor has a control or monitoring capability during any activity in a microcomputer system. It has to monitor, it has to coordinate, monitor whatever you tell. So, it has to watch each and every operation that is taking place inside a microcomputer. Is it okay? So, therefore, data bus is always bidirectional. The data can be transferred in both directions. So, then control signal. So, what is the need of control signal? As I told you, if it is an input device, the data transfer direction from input to microprocessor. If it is output device, from microprocessor to output device. And if you are reading the data from memory to microprocessor, the data transfer from memory to microprocessor. And if you are writing something, some result or some data to the memory, the data transfer from microprocessor to memory. So that means how many types of signals are required? One is memory read operation, another is memory write operation, and if it is input device, input read operation, and if it is output device, output write operations. Only these 4 operations are taking place and nothing else in a microcomputer at any point of time. There are only 4 operations carried out: memory read, memory write, or IO read or IO write. So these particular signals are called the control signals. Okay, along with this some other control signals are also there, but these 4 control signals are most frequently used in a microcomputer system. Is it okay? So, so this memory read and memory write, IO read, output write will have separate control bus for sending these signals, and this set of signals constitute a set of buses which we call the control bus. Now you can say whether these are unidirectional or bidirectional, whether these are unidirectional or bidirectional. And suppose memory read control signal will be issued. Who is going to issue these signals? It is the microprocessor. As I told you, the control unit is available inside the microprocessor, because if you open this box, microprocessor box, you will find out ALU, another is control unit, then another is the set of registers, nothing else. So it is the job of control unit to issue the control signal depending upon the requirement. Suppose I want to read a data from memory to microprocessor, then memory read control signal must be used. And suppose I want to write some data into memory, then memory write control signal should be used. If I am reading a data from an input device, or we can say in this way, whenever a data is given from keyboard to microprocessor, we are telling that we are giving the data to microprocessor, but understand different reversely, that microprocessor is reading the data from input device. Whenever you press a key on the keyboard, so this corresponding digital data is stored in the keyboard buffer, and microprocessor will be continuously polling the buffer whether the data is present or not. And the moment it gets a data which is available in the keyboard buffer, it immediately takes and store in its register. Am I clear? So this is the input device. Similarly, for output devices, when the data is supposed to be printed, initially the data will be available in the printer buffer. Then printer, there is also a microcontroller or microprocessor, so which will take that printer data from printer buffer and give to the actuator, which is printing on the paper, right. So this is how the output device and the input devices are working, right. And it will be more clear whenever you write in programs for reading the data from input device and for writing the data to the output device, right. So let us see how the microprocessor communicates with the memory first and what are the steps to be carried out. Then we will go to IO devices. So this side is microprocessor and this side is memory, and for time being understand that we are dealing a kind of memory or RAM or ROM. So all the memory organizations are divided into, or the memory is divided into number of locations. Each location is divided into number of cells, and each cell is capable of storing either 0 or 1. Am I clear? Once again I am telling. So now assume that the memory organization that will be directly interact with the microprocessor is of this type. That memory is divided into number of locations, and each location is divided into number of cells, and each cell is capable of storing either 0 or 1. And how that cell is implemented, what is the corresponding electronics device, that we shall discuss afterwards. But at present you remember that a memory is divided into number of locations. Am I clear? So if you want to access a particular location, then we need the help of bus. And what are the types of buses? 3 types. That is, one is called address bus, then next is the data bus, and final is the control bus. Assume that we want to carry out a memory read operation. Am I clear? So, to carry out a successful memory read operation, what microprocessor does? Microprocessor sends the address of specific location where the data is to be read in the address bus. That is the first step. Step 1, microprocessor sends the address to the memory using the address bus. Why it is sending? Because microprocessor is basically a machine. It has to identify which location is containing the data, from where it will read the data. Therefore, address is important. So, you may be asking, where will get this, where the microprocessor gets this address? That we shall discuss. It can be given by the operating system, or it can be given by the programmer himself, or it can be given by a system routine. That we shall see afterwards. Now, you assume that microprocessor knows the address of a memory location from where the data is to be read. Is it okay? So, now the location is identified from where the data, but the data is not yet transferred. Location is identified. And what type of operation is to be carried out? Memory read. Next moment, suppose at time t1, this operation took place at time t1, right? At time t2, microprocessor sends the control signal, memory read control signal. As I told you, there are 4 control signals, memory read control signals to the memory for activating that location or for preparing that location for read operation. See, identifying and preparing for read operation is different. Why it is different? Because this will take some time, that will also take some time, and how much time it is taken, that also we can exactly find in terms of microsecond. Of course, not in terms of nanosecond. Why? Because that is the limitation of 8085 microprocessor. You can keep track all the operations of microprocessor 8085 in terms of microsecond. So, all the values whatever we will be getting, all will be coming in terms of microsecond. That we shall see what is the exact value for exact time taken to carry out the step 1 and step 2, because that is the biggest problem in the world, because the people are trying, or researchers are trying to reduce that time. Is okay? So, step 2, now control signal will be transferred from microprocessor to memory using the control bus. Step 2 is over. Now, that memory location is ready to transfer the data to microprocessor. So, even if it is ready, the data cannot be transferred, because the data cannot be transferred using the address bus. So, it has to take the help of data bus. Now, the location which is containing the data will be loaded into the data bus. Remember, in the data bus, if the data is available here, it is also available here. Data means what? 0 or 1, a signal, a square pulse. So, if the data is available here, throughout the bus, the same data will be floating until it is received by the microprocessor. And how microprocessor receives this data is itself a mechanism that we shall discuss afterwards again, because here I want to tell you how the instructions are executed and what is the operation of the instruction. Am I clear? So, these 3 steps are very important. One is that microprocessor sends the address using address bus to locate a particular location from where the data is to be read. That is the step number 1, and assume that it is taking place at time t1. Then at time t2, microprocessor sends the control signal, in this case memory read, but we shall see that in some other operation the control signal may be changed, but the pattern remains same, right. So, memory read control signal will be issued by the microprocessor, and through control bus it will be transferred, and the location is now getting prepared to send the data to the microprocessor. That is the step 2, and this happens at time t2. Remember, t1 is not equal to t2. Okay. So, then at time t3, the data is transferred to the microprocessor. But why we are transferring the data? For carrying out some operation. Maybe the data is required for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or for any kind of processing. Therefore, here we can attach one more step at T4 the operation is taking place, because we want to focus on the complete execution of an instruction or complete execution of an operation. So, for that, to complete the operation, we need another step, that is step 4, and that happens at T4. Now, if I start the operation at T1, I end the operation at T4, the total time taken to transfer a data byte and finishing the operation is T4 minus T1, and this T4 and minus T1 is how much? That is very crucial to understand that what will be the time required to perform this operation. And already I have told you in the very first class, every microprocessor or any intelligent device is operating with a particular clock frequency. That is, let us denote the clock frequency of a microprocessor by f. And to be specific, because in general it can be f can be any value, but for 8085 it is exactly 5 megahertz. The way human beings we are governed using a watch, in the same way every microprocessor microcontroller is governed or controls its activities by using a clock, and that clock frequency is 5 megahertz. So, if the clock frequency f is 5 megahertz, t, that is the clock period, is 1 by f, which is 1 by 5 megahertz, and reciprocal of megahertz is the microsecond. So, it is 0.2 microsecond. Reciprocal of hertz is second, and reciprocal of megahertz is microsecond. Is it okay? So, 0.2 microsecond. Now, I will say that every clock, whether you do the activity, do the operation, the watch, the time is going on. That you can observe, the watch, that hour pin and minute and second pin, that keeps on moving, whether you do, whether you refer the watch or not. Similarly, this microprocessor clock, digital clock, it will be all the time moving. But only thing is that we have to keep track that when we started our operation, that is time T1, and we have to keep track when the operation is completed, T4. And if you can find out T4 minus T1, you can find out the exact time taken to perform this operation. And basically this clock, for making a simple model, what the researchers have done, that they assumed it is a clock pulse or square wave of this type. Is it okay? So, this is the clock pulse at frequency CLK, sometimes you write it CLK, clock pulse. And if I if I track the time from this point, that is from, this is the beginning point, right? And when the clock, the pulse will be having one cycle, this is the one cycle, this is the second cycle, this is the third cycle, this is the fourth cycle, likewise in go on drawing, and you can keep track every cycle, and this cycle is nothing but time period t, that is 0.2 microsecond, right. So, 0.2 microsecond. Now, if I tell you to carry out the step 1 activity, 3 clock pulses are required. Just assume that we need 3 clock pulses to carry out the first step 1. Then what is the time taken to step 1? 0.2 into 3, that is 0.6 microsecond. And assume that to carry out the second step, it required 1 clock pulse. So, 0.2. So, previously you got 0.6 plus 0.2, 0.8. And to carry out the third one, suppose it is 2 clock pulses. So, add another 4. So, I can very well say within 10 microsecond, 10 or 1, sorry 1 microsecond, within 1 microsecond I could complete a memory read operation. Is it okay? But this is an example. I will tell how many exact clock pulses are required, and particularly every microprocessor follows a particular logical pattern, and that logical pattern, if you remember, you can exactly find out what is the time taken. because most of the instructions will follow that logical pattern, except 5% of instructions. For that you have to remember, only you have to remember the time for that those 5% of instructions, but 95% of instructions will obey a particular logical rule based on which all these steps are performed, right. That I will tell in some other classes that what is that logical rules as far as the delay is concerned, as the time is concerned. So, okay. So, now this is how we can monitor, or the microprocessor can monitor or can watch the different activities in a microcomputer. Again we will come back to this, but let me complete first what are the other kind of operations possible in a microcomputer. This is the memory read operation. Now, if I tell you write the same 4 steps for memory write operation. So, what would be the step 1? So, memory write operation means the data, assume that is already available in the microprocessor, and this data will be stored in a specific location which must be identified by the microprocessor. What is the step 1? The microprocessor issues the address of a memory location where the data is to be written. It is almost similar to the step 1 of the previous operation. Am I clear? Then what would be the step 2? This time memory read control signal will not be issued, rather memory write control signal will be issued, so that the data which is the activation of a write operation is to be initiated, or the memory location will be ready for receiving the data from the microprocessor. That is step 2. What is step 3? The data which is available in the microprocessor will be stored in the respective location using data bus, and this is also clear that data bus is bidirectional, control bus is unidirectional, and address bus is unidirectional. If you watch these 2 operations, memory read and memory write, this is clear that the address bus is unidirectional, control bus is unidirectional, and data bus is bidirectional. Then step 4, if you are writing the data into the memory, is it required or not, that is a question mark. So, okay. So, this step 4 is required or not for memory write operation, that we have to find, that we shall see. Sometimes you shall see that if you include the operations, the timings will be more, and if you do not include the operations, only read and write operation, time will be less. So, again I am just giving an assignment to you. You try to write the same 3 steps for input read operation, and how the control signals are activated and what are those control signals, and another is output write operation. Is it okay? Similar 3 steps you can write, or you can follow the net or books. It is clearly written that what are the different steps to be carried out for input read operation and output write operation, because you have to save some time, because whatever things I told you, this is very general. Since you are reading microprocessor 8085, one thing I have already clearly mentioned, that frequency is 5 megahertz, but we have not yet discussed what is the size of the address bus. Size means the number of wires that constitute the address bus. Anybody knows what is the address bus size of 8085? So, address bus of 8085 is of 16 bit, but designation is 8 bit. I will tell why it is 8 bit and why it is 16 bit. Then data bus size is of 8 bit, and a control bus is always 1 bit with respect to a signal. If it is memory read, it is 1 bit, because why it is 1 bit? 1 bit means 0 or 1. If I say 0 is memory read operation, 1 can be memory write operation. And similarly, for IO, for control signal IO read, IO write, I can use the same signal or same one bus for IO read and another is IO write. Is it okay? So, then this is very clear. If I have 16 bit address bus, 8 bit data bus, and control bus is 1 bit with respect to a particular operation, memory read, memory write. So, these are the values we could give exactly because we are discussing 8085, and these values will keep on varying from microprocessor to microprocessor and microcontroller to microcontroller and manufacturer to manufacturer. And when we discuss about the 8086, we shall see what was the limitation of 8085 and that were the advantages of 8086. The way the revolution has taken place, we have found, the people have found some shortcomings in the previous technology, and that they have incorporated in the new technology. Likewise, the microprocessor revolution has taken place, and it is very logical in nature, that we shall see. So anyway, so if the address bus is 16 bits and they are named as A0, A1, A2, so on A7, then A8, A9 and A15. These are the names. As I told you, every time we give a name for simplicity and for identification of the each and every wire of that address bus, right. So A0 can I say is the least significant bit, and A15 is the MSB, most significant bit, or MSD, most significant digit. So let us write this MSD, and this is LSD or LSB, whatever you tell, least significant digit and most significant digit. Now we divide this address signals or address bus into two groups. A0 to A7 is one group and A8 to A15 to 815 is another group. Is it okay? Now if I divide into two groups, I can very well say this is least significant byte, not bit, because I am taking 8 bits at a time, and these 8 bits I can take most significant byte. So do not confuse with LSD or LSB. Whenever you address a particular bit, I can say least significant bit, and if you are taking byte, you are taking least significant byte. I am telling why, because this will be always in the practical class, in theory classes, always there will be a confusion. Okay. So whenever it is given least significant bit, we try to access only one wire in the bus, and whenever I am giving a least significant byte, we are trying to access completely 8 bits as a bunch. And most of the computer system nowadays, you can see, not nowadays, traditionally they are all byte addressable. Even though you take a 16-bit computer, 32-bit computer, or 32-bit or 64-bit microprocessor, every byte must be assigned an address. It is not that at a time you can address 64-bit, not possible, right. So every system is, every microcomputer system is byte addressable. So every byte must be given an address. Okay. So if I have A0 to A15 16 address lines, so I can transfer address 16 bits using that 16 address lines. Is that it? And what are those address range? The starting address will be all zeros and the final address will be all ones. But writing 16 bits all the time, sometimes tedious or cumbersome. To avoid that, what we can write? We will try to write them in hexadecimal. And you know that 4 digits in binary corresponds to 1 digit in hexadecimal. So can I say the starting address is 0, 0, 0, and to since it is hexadecimal, I will use the symbol H, 0, 0, 0, 0, H. And similarly, what will be the address, final address? F, 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 H, because 4 ones means F and 16 exactly. Is it okay? And this is called the address space, physical address space of a microcomputer, and this is the maximum space that can be available in a microcomputer, not more than that, not less than that. The less than of this can be useful, but the maximum you can keep only this much. So that means how many locations are there and how many bits of information I can store in the memory of a computer, microcomputer, if I am using 8085 microprocessor. So since 16 address bus is there, I can have 2 to the power 16 locations, and every location is of 8 bit, because the data bus is 8 bit. At a time only 8 bits can be transferred. So, that means the total capacity is 2 to the power 16 and 8 bits, and 2 to the power 16 means I can write 2 to the power 6, 2 to the power 10, and this I can write byte. 2 to the power 6 means 64, 2 to the power 10 means 1 kilobyte, 10 24 bytes, and bytes already have written. So, 64 kilobytes is the total space available for microprocessor 8085. That means the total memory capacity of a microcomputer depends upon the number of address lines it supports. It is otherwise there is no meaning of memory. Always the memory system is designed keeping how many address lines are there in a microprocessor, or that there is a limitation you can say. Now, we have 64 kilobytes of space. Now, this can be organized as RAM, ROM, PROM, EPROM, EAROM, flash memory, etc., or semiconductor memories. So, this is I am telling about the semiconductor memories, not magnetic memory. So, maximum we can have 64 kilobytes of semiconductor memory if your address bus is of 16 bit. And how much you should keep in RAM, and how much you should keep in ROM, that is up to the designer or the person who is configuring the microcomputer. Am I clear? So, what is the need of ROM? Because you cannot write anything into the ROM, then what is the need of that? That we shall discuss in other classes, what are the different types of memory and why these memories are there. Now, the question comes, can the cache memories of this type, that is included in the 64 kilobyte or not? This is an assignment. Can the cache memory that we have studied in computer organization and architecture, is it a part of this 64 kilobyte? This 64 kilobyte is the maximum space, and you know cache memory is a small and fastest memory between memory and the microprocessor. Is it a part of this? Okay, these things we will discuss afterwards about the cache memory concept and how the cache memories are interfaced. So, anyway, so this 64 kilobytes is possible because of the 16 address lines, and we know that the data bus is of 8 bit and that is designated as D0 to D7, because 8 bit D0, D1, D2, D3 like this D7. So, that means how many wires are required? For 16 bit address lines we need 16 wires, 16 different unique wires, and for 8 bit we need 8 wires, and control bus assume that 10. So, we need 34 lines or 34 wires. Is it possible to reduce this number of wires? Is it possible to mix the address bus with the data bus? The same set of lines which are used for address can be used for data also. Think this, and it is possible. Why? Because these operations are not, the step 1, step 2, step 3 are not parallel, they are done serially. Unless one is completed, other cannot be started. Therefore, why can't you make use of the same address bus as the data bus in a different instant of time? So, due to this question, what happened? We are not using 16 plus 8, that is 24 lines, rather we are using only 16 lines such that the data and address both are multiplexed. Now, if I am multiplexing, there is a question comes, use of multiplexer, and a multiplexer is a extra hardware. What is a multiplexer? N is to 1. At a time it will select 1 out of n signals with the help of some control signals, right. So, if are not multiplexing, the cost of wire is increasing, and if are multiplexing, cost of wire is reducing, but at the same time multiplexer one extra hardware is increasing. And remember, all these things are available inside the microprocessor. One of our goal is to reduce the size of the IC. But anyway, this is where we cannot do anything, because whatever the microprocessor 8085 specification says, that we have to obey. So microprocessor 8085 specifies that let the multiplexer is inside the microprocessor, and instead of using 24 different lines for address and data, so they have used only 16 lines where the data and address are multiplexed. So once it is multiplexed, it should be also demultiplexed. Why? Because at a particular point of time, as I told you, the ORs will be floating the data, either address or data, and there should be a monitoring mechanism when the ORs are carrying address and when the ORs are carrying data. So for that, whenever the data is floating on the address bus, the address must be saved somewhere. So we call a small buffer, that is called a latch, address latch. The address is latched, then the data is loaded, and the moment a data operation is over, again we can bring the address from the address latch. So all these things we shall discuss in the next class, and for this there will be some extra control signals will be used.